Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Lu. The question of how rich you need to be rich in Singapore is now answered. I've got the answer in this video, so please watch on. We have always known that Singaporeans are crazy rich Asians. So, how rich do we need to be rich in Singapore? So, the answer is found in this following survey. So, the Department of Statistics have just issued a outcome of the report on household survey 2023, and it's a very detailed survey and it gives us a lot of answers to many important questions that we have about Singapore in terms of income distribution, and also expenditure. So please watch on. I'll give you a lot of insights to it. The whole report is very thick, but I pull out those that I think relevant to my interest, and I think you'll be interested in this as well. Here, like give special accreditation to the source, which is Ministry of Trade Industry, Department of Statistics, for producing this survey. It's a very well done survey. Thank you very much. The Department of Statistics Household Expenditure Survey is done once every 5 years since 1972, which is 52 or 53 years ago. It captures a lot of Singapore household demographic, socio-economic data. It's very detailed, and it gives a lot of insights to what I think would be very important for all of us who are very interested about Singapore and wealth distribution and so on. I suggest you take a look. I'll put the link below in the description, and you can read the report yourself. The first most interesting statistics is that the average household income in Singapore is now $15,473. That's the average household income. So if you are below that, that means that you are below the average, and if you are above that, you're above the average. Now, of course, this is average. I'm sure there's some skewing towards the high side by high income earners and things like that. But this gives us a benchmark. Now, household income is so high, everybody will say, hey, I don't get $15,000 salary a month. Well, this is household, which means that they look at the income of not just the sole breadwinner, but in many cases in Singapore, right now it's a dual income or even triple income. So in my case right now, I've got myself staying in the house with my wife, and I've also got three children. Some of the children earns income as well, so it will be a household income. But part of it, I'll imagine, is a dual income from husband and wife, father and mother. So it's at now at $15,473. Interestingly, the annual change in household income is about 4% in 2023. So this is very interesting. That means your income salary increment on average should be about 4% a year. Now, if you don't get 4% a year, means you're lagging, and if you're above 4%, you are on par or ahead of your cohorts in Singapore. Now, how rich do you need to be in order to be rich? I will now talk about it from an income perspective. Of course, there are people who don't earn income but with a lot of wealth. I'm not going to talk about wealth today. I'm just going to talk about income. So, income, if you want to be the top 20th percentile, you need to have $34,341,000 a month in household income. And interestingly, the rich are indeed getting richer. So the top income earners by top 20% actually have a very substantial jump of about $6,000, $6,000 over the last 5 years in household income. That's very high, right? And then the 60th to 80th percentile has about a 3,000 jump. Now, interestingly, those in the lower income, there's about a few $100 jump. I'm sure you can express in percentage, but I'm more interested in absolute. But I think this is very interesting that the rich is really, really very rich in terms of high income. So if you want to do well in Singapore to be the top 20th percentile, you need to make $34,000 a month by high household income. And this is quite interesting. Interestingly, the average household income by dwelling types is also a very interesting insight. Landed property owners in Singapore have an average income of $40,000. If not, you can't afford a landed property. So if you have $40,000 income a month as a household, you can afford a landed property. That's the kind of guideline. And for condo, 25,000. Okay, and for HDB, 5 room and above, 16,000. That's a very interesting number. Now, interestingly, you may not know this, but the average HDB the average HDB dweller has an income, a household income about $11,000. I think Singaporeans are really getting very rich, and I'm very proud of Singapore. Now, a lot of you say, but I don't make this income. Well, that's the average, and this gives you a benchmark how you should work towards, if depending on where you stand. But these are official statistics from the government, and this gives you a benchmark where you should go. Now, a lot of people say, how can I become rich? Well, it gives a bit of insight if you look at this data. So these are people who are paid employed. That means they're employees, they are salaried personnel. And 7% of the whole country is self-employed, and non-employed. That means people who retire whatsoever. They are in the green bar, 21%. But if you look at those, they are in condo and landed property, they are substantially a lot more. They are self-employed or non-employment. Non-employment could be people who are retired, or they based on passive income or things like that. So interestingly, those that stay in landed house, a total of 44% of them actually are either self-employed, are not even employed. That's very interesting. They are not employed and yet they stay in landed house. So these are very interesting insight, which means that if you want to be rich or richer, self-employment, become entrepreneurs is clearly a path that you would like to consider, and that goes the same for condos and other apartment as well. Now, I reckon that a lot of people will say, but being a entrepreneur has a lot of risks and things like that. That is true, but I'm telling you right now, according to the countrywide statistics, the path towards higher wealth and higher income is to be a self-employed. The next part actually gives us a lot more interesting insight towards where the income come from. The rich have significantly more non-employment income. So this is where I would like to point to you. So those people who stay in landed house, their non-employment source of income is about $13,000. This could be rental income, it could be investment income, or dividend income, or any other income, but not from employment. And that's very interesting, right? So if you were to recall the previous slide, landed property landed property household income is about $40,000, and of which 13,000 comes from non-employment income. So passive income or non-employment income is very important for you in order to get rich. How does the landed property and the condo people get this income? A lot of them has rental income. As you can see, they clearly has more than one property or so. And you can see the blue chart here that the rental income forms a lot more as you go towards condo and landed property. And also, investment income has also grown substantially when I talk about those landed ones. So this is very interesting. So if you want to be rich, don't just work your ass out, but also invest well, put money in the right place so it generates a passive income as well. So there is a data that gives us the household expenditure and household income. And if I were to match them, you'll be able to see how much savings that the high income earners have. So if you look at the high income earners, which is the top 20%, they make a household income about $34,000. That's very high. And how much do they spend? Well, interestingly, they spend only $9,000. So can you imagine how much savings do they have by having this kind of matching? So they earn about 34,000, they spend about 9,000, they save an astonishing amount of $20,000 a month. And that's very, very high. Now let's take a look at the 60th to the 80th percentile. They make about $18,000, but they spend about $7,000. They also make a lot of money, save about $11,000 a month. So it's a case where the rich really become richer. So I'm not going to be a politician, or I'm not going to be a social demographic worker. I'm just giving you an insight that most importantly, instead of grumbling, about why the rich have become richer, why don't we work very hard to steer ourselves towards the angle, wisen ourselves up financially, wisen ourselves up in our skills so that we steer ourselves towards that upper quadrant. Interestingly, this is where I also want to point out that those on the low income really struggle very hard. So they make an income about 3,250 and they spend 3,233. So basically what they earn, they spend it all. And this is where I want to stress to everybody that it's important for us to educate ourselves very well, train ourselves very well, be very serious about your education and your children's education, upskill yourself very well so that you don't fall into this quadrant. Once you get out of this quadrant into the 20th to 40th percentile, you make about 8,000, you spend about $4,000, you start saving money, and that would be wonderful. This is where I like to take a pause and have a bit of digression. Interestingly, our number of 165 subscribers have hit a high of 49,900. We are very near 50,000. And I would like to encourage everybody, please give the community a support. Give me a support by hitting like and subscribe every time you watch a video. And if you haven't subscribed, please follow us. I'll be shooting a video almost every day, at least 5 to 6 times a week to get everybody financially educated. And I hope that you'll find this very interesting. I'll be providing very interesting insights to other topics as well that I hope you'll find interesting. Thank you for supporting, and let's get back to our video. This is where I also want to share with you there's a very interesting insight how they calculate the expenditure of household. Now, for owner-occupied house, which is majority of us, they actually impute the rental of owner-occupied house. That means they make an estimate of your house and how much a rental you have to pay and put that into expenditure. So actually the household expenditure may not be that high, okay, because it's an imputed rental. Or you could argue that the rental is as heavy as the interest and mortgage payment as well. But I just like you to know how they estimate the the household expenditure in terms of housing for you to have an interesting insight to it. This is where it's very important for us to know that the burden of increase of household expenditure falls most heavily on the lower income. If you were to look at the annual change in household expenditure, those in the lower quadrant has a high of 4.5%, and those in the upper percentile of 20th upper 20th percentile, the average increase in monthly expenditure is only 1.7%. Very interesting, right? So this is something that I want to share with everybody, that the lower income actually has a higher burden of expenditure increase. So it's very important for us to work very hard to make sure we don't fall into this quadrant. Work hard, train hard, educate ourselves, upskill ourselves, and as much as possible, move ourselves up towards this side of the percentile. Now, I understand because of health reason or whatever reason, some people just cannot, and this is where the government help will come in. But this is not my charter to talk about it. I'll let the politician talk about it. This is another very interesting insight. The people with the higher income has less children, right? Has less family members. So the average household size is about 2.8, and the rest is about 3 point something. The lower quadrant is also, sorry, the lower percentile is also about 2.8. So can you see that the low income and the high income has very few children, and the rest have higher children. Now I don't fall into this quadrant, so I also have some around this. I got five. I am way ahead of a lot of people. I got five people in my household. Arguably, I have six because my dad also stay with us, and so I think we have a very big number here. I also want to say this: don't look at this statistic and say that in order to be rich, I must have less children. I don't know whether that is true, but I think children brings a lot of joy, and the family brings a lot of love and joy. And this is where I strongly encourage everybody to have lots of children, and have a wonderful family as well. There's a lot of very interesting insight in the report. I just pull one or two of this interesting point. I just like to say that it strikes me very interestingly that the average monthly household on food is about 966. I think this outdoor food, okay, this is not a home cooked food. I think the average Singaporean spends about $1,000 on food, with majority of it on hawker center, food court, and coffee shop. I spend proportionately more on this one, and I'm surprised that there's a lot of people who went to restaurant, pubs, and cafe almost in the same percent. Now, fast food, catering, I think Grab food and all this will probably fall under this bucket as well. So I would say that high-end food now takes up half, and hawker center, food court, and coffee shop takes up another half as well. So this is the average standard of Singaporeans right now. So just to sum up, I think this report gives us a very interesting insight to what we should work towards if we want to be well-to-do in Singapore. And it's very important for us to also benchmark ourselves where we stand. Of course, it's easier said than done. I want to make more money means I make more money. Of course, it's easier than done. And the other interesting caveat, I need to say that this only look at income and doesn't look at wealth. Okay, wealth is a different ball game altogether. There are people with lower income but with extraordinary wealth. I've seen many people who are very high income but with very high expenditure. But the truth speaks for itself on these statistics that if you generally have higher income, you will have generally a higher wealth as well. So thank you for watching. I hope this data provide you very interesting insight, and I'll see you in a day or two. Bye bye.